You are Locked On Astros Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Astros' run in the postseason of going to the ALCS every year had to end at some point. You just did not expect it to end this way in such poor fashion as the 2024 season has come to the end on the 2nd of October as the Detroit Tigers sweep the Astros in the best-of-3 game wild card series, ending a 7 consecutive seasons for the Astros where they ended up at least in the ALCS. Hello and welcome today to a Locked On Astros postcast that I did not want to do today. Of course, I want to do the show, but I did not want to do a show where I had to talk about the fact that the Astros went out there and got swept out at home. They can't win baseball games in the postseason at Minute Maid Park. They can't hit. We can talk about all kinds of things. There's so many different facets of the last 2 days as to why they lost 2 straight ball games. The biggest thing is, overall, as a collective team, they came out and they didn't do their jobs. Yesterday, their starter didn't do his job well enough. The bats didn't do a thing. Today, their starter came out, kicked ass. The bats didn't do their job again, and the bullpen didn't do its job, where the day before, the bullpen did its job. It was a collective team effort. Everybody sucked for 2 consecutive days, and when it is that small of a window, and this is why the wild card is so tricky playing in this round and why you wanted to skip it in the worst way possible, because length of series matters. You can find teams' weaknesses in length of series. A.J. Hinch said it best for what they were going to do. They were going to bring chaos with their pitching, and the chaos of their pitching absolutely was an impact on the baseball game today as they never got anything going at the plate. Unbelievable that this has happened. You can be mad. You should be mad because, well, we've gotten used to being good around here in the city of Houston. What they did the last 2 days was not good. This episode today, by the way, is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. All right, let's just go through it. So many things. We can complain about Hader and coming in and giving up the double. But we can also complain about Ryan Pressly doing the exact same thing. Think about, now look, I'm not going to make this a whole, you do have to take it into account where the franchise is. They've had this slow move away from analytics, and I've talked about this for a long time. It's not that they don't use analytics. They still use them like crazy. But when it comes to how they put together teams, they've moved away from what analytical thinking tells you to do. Think about how much money they've poured into that bullpen. They have one guy that's making like $11 million not even playing for the team. He's over there with the Space Cowboys pitching in the AAA National Championship games or whatever. That's how bad that this was. Josh Hader's still a great pitcher. He had a bad year for his standard. It's going to be on him to come back next year and to not be that guy, because the guy that he was this year for a $95 million closer overall was not good enough. Ryan Pressly makes $14 million next year. He can't put out the season that he just put out this year. The bats across the board, whether it's a philosophy thing, maybe it is time to shake things up. I'm never going to be on the side of, I know that the first thing is, I got a ton of tweets about it, during the game. Cintrone, Snicker, get rid of the hitting coaches. Like, these guys in baseball today, they use the hitting coaches as resources, sure, but they all have their own guys that they work with outside of the team. So, at the end of the day, I always go back to, I can only get the most mad about the players on the field not performing when they don't perform. And they didn't perform again today. They went to the plate, and I get it. It's not an easy sport. If you've played this sport in your life at any level, you know that it's not an easy sport. But, they were gifted the 2 runs that they got today. Let's not forget that. 2 consecutive days where the offense didn't do a darn thing. And today, they didn't do a darn thing either. They got lucky on those 2 runs. And that's why I tweeted out based off that and the way that they ended up choking it away at the end, they deserve to go home. They had no business winning that baseball game today or yesterday because they did not hit. You always have to credit the other side. They also are professionals that have to go out and do their job and execute. And Detroit did that for 2 consecutive days. That team's probably not long for the postseason because I don't think they're going to score enough. But they are also a team that can pitch, and they're going to keep games tight. That bullpen this year really stood. And I came into this, for me, these 2 games thinking it'll be typical Astros, what they usually do in postseasons. They'll find a way to expose bullpens, even bullpens that have been great during the regular season. They'll find a way to expose bullpens that have probably been overused during the regular season. And if this was a longer series, maybe they would. But it's a best of 3. And there's no time for fooling around. The Tigers needed 1 good start out of school yesterday, and they were golden. They had everybody available. They could do whatever they wanted today. And they went out there and they shut the Astros down. Credit to them. It does suck as well. I mean, look, I said it the other day. It does suck that you also lose to A.J. Hinch. I mean, it's as simple as that. You hate it. And this all kind of started, again, with where this franchise is at and where they're going to go moving forward is going to be based off of the decisions they make. And it's a microcosm of the decisions they've made in the recent off seasons of letting GMs go. Well, again, the Luno thing was the Luno thing. Letting James Click go. I've said it. I'm not the world's greatest Dana Brown fan. Like I've seen 2 straight. He had 1 good trade this year at the deadline with Kikuchi last year. Whether he was dictated by the owner or not to go get the Verlander trade, that one didn't work out at all. I don't know. I think he's a scout. I think they got to get back to who they were to get there. And they're stuck at a crossroads now where they have a ton of decisions to make. Because the team that they put out there this season, for as fun as it was to get back to this point, watching them where they're playing postseason baseball, because the early portions of this season were an absolute disaster. We know this. That team came out and they wet the bed almost every single night in the month of April and into May. And then it took them, 1, playing their rear ends off, but 2, playing in a just terrible division. Because that's what the AL West was. I mean, they won 88 games this year. I'm not saying you have to win 105 every year, but this is a team that used to win 100 games a year. They don't have the talent for that anymore. They are lacking in a lot of areas. And the most obvious one is right there in front of you when you're swinging it and not getting any results at the plate. I said this yesterday, and it's they're always going to go where their big boys take them. And it happened again today. Altuve 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Tucker 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Did he ground into a double play as well? Somebody grounded into a double play. Yeah, Tucker grounded into a double play. Yordan Alvarez 0 for 3. Alex Bregman actually hit the ball hard multiple times and had terrible luck. That's baseball, though. It's some days that doesn't love you. Yainer Diaz 1 for 4. He also grounded into a double play. He had a bad break on 1-2 his first at bat. You can't count on the Victor Caratinis or the Jeremy Peñas or the Jason Haywards or the Mauricio Dubons or the Chas McCormicks or the John Singletons or the Jake Meyer, whoever. You can't count on those guys to get you wins. You count on those big guys at the front to set everything up. And then when you have those situations where those guys come through, those other guys, it's gravy. And you're never going to be 9 deep all the way. That's not a bad lineup on paper that they put out today at all. But when you just go back through the season and look at the performances and just what this team looked like all season long, they took a major step back at the plate. They went from being one of the most lethal, consistent, offensive producing teams to a team that, I felt more frustrated as a fan of the Astros my entire life watching this team than any other team in this run. 2017 was incredible. It's the first one. That team was incredibly frustrating in August that year where they just completely wet the bed, but then they turned it around after the Verlander trade. 2018 was not as consistent offensively, but they were dominant still. 2019 was the most fun I ever had in a regular season watching the Astros. 2020, don't care about that. That was a COVID year. 2021, a lot of fun to watch in the regular season. 2022, a blast because they were so dominant pitching-wise. Not as great offensively. 2023 was frustrating last year, but it was still good. I mean, they got to the ALCS last year. They played in Game 7. They should have. I say they should have. They had the opportunity to win 2 games at home in that series at the end of it to go back to the World Series. And they did what they did today. The last 2 games, they choked all. They vomited all over themselves. They need to put up a petition or something to go play their postseason games now, like Reckling Park or something. Don't play them at Minute Maid Park. Because for whatever reason, they've just stopped. After the 2022 Game 6, they've stopped winning at home in the postseason. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. We got a lot to continue to talk about. Decisions that are going to have to be made as well. We'll get to all of it as we continue the Locked On Astros postcast. Hey, NFL fans. Yeah, you're baseball fans, but you're also NFL fans. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Head over to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. One more reminder, I want to tell you about PrizePicks. Get in on PrizePicks. It's the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded prizes. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You must pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. I play PrizePicks all the time. Got basketball. I'm a big fan of basketball on PrizePicks. That is getting ready to start. This channel will have Rockets postcast coming up here. On the 7th will be our first one after the first preseason game for the Rockets as they get ready to return in 2024. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB when you download that PrizePicks app. Get in on it. PrizePicks. Run your game. Locked On Astros postcast for the last time in 2024. And I'm very sad. It's been a long time since the season has ended this early. Long time. 2016 be the last time. I'd have to go back and look at the exact date of that 2016 season, but that would be the last time that the season has ended this early. Because every year's been to at least the ALCS since then. And the World Series in 4 of those years. 4 of those 7 years. I mean, just look, we've been incredibly blessed here in the city of Houston. We do not know what losing is like over the last basically 10 years. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. This is the last time that the Astros season ended on October 2nd, 2016. Last time that they did not make the postseason. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. A.J. Hinch was the manager of that team. I remember that last game in Seattle of that season. This one today at Minute Maid, Detroit came out. And credit to Detroit. I hope they create chaos, I guess. I don't know. This is the Astros fan in me. As long as the Yankees don't win, I'm fine. That's it. What is this team going to do now? I talked about that in the first couple of minutes here. This is a pivotal winner for the Astros. They have, of course, a big free agent in Alex Bregman at third base. It's something that is going to have to be addressed. They have a big fat hole at first base. They could use upgrades at shortstop. They could use upgrades in center field and in left field as well. They could use more starting pitching because, as we learned early in the season, you can never have enough of that. And they're going to need to supplement the bullpen with something because they also lacked a little bit of depth there at times. I have no doubt that you can always find bullpen arms. You can always find bullpen arms. So I don't think that's like the number one glaring thing. The question is going to be, one, how ticked off is Jim Crane going to be? He's done a lot of talk over the last few years about the window's never closed for this franchise. As long as I'm here, the window's never closed. Okay, well, to keep that window open, now Kyle Tucker was completely hot garbage, I think is the nicest way to put it in this series for the Astros. He is up for free agency after next season. Framber Valdez has been a Cy Young level pitcher in the regular season for the last few years. He is up for free agency after next season. I mentioned Jeremy Pena is going to be arbitration eligible at shortstop. Do you want to start paying him real money at shortstop? Or do you think you could use him in some sort of trade? Or could you upgrade at that position? Money-wise, this team is in a weird spot. They have committed money, of course, to players that will not play for them next season. As of this moment, as we sit here right now, for the 2025 season, the Astros have $115.4 million committed, and that does not account for players that are pre-arbitration eligible and arbitration eligible. They have $33 million on the books for Altuve, $26.8 for Jordan, 19 for I'm a little far ahead of myself. 33 for Altuve, 15.8 for Jordan, 19 for Hader, 17.7 for McCullers for 2 more seasons, 11.5 for Montero, who won't pitch for this team next year, but will get that money, and that goes on their books. 10.4 for Christian Javier, who's probably going to miss the entire season. Ryan Presley, $14 million for him, $6 million for Victor Caratini, and then the rest of the guys are either free agents or arbitration. So you kind of take a stab at guesses. I saw that MLB trade rumors had their arbitration numbers out yesterday. It's going to be expensive for the Astros. I mean, like Dubon's going to be $3-4 million. McCormick's going to be a couple $1 million. Or he's going to be about $3-4 million, excuse me. Brian Abreu will be $3 or $4 million. A lot of those guys will be $3-4 million. Kyle Tucker's going to take a huge leap from $12 million to probably close to 20 next season, maybe even more than 20. Framber's going to be a around $20 million a year player. They have another, safe to say, at minimum 170 committed for next season. And they're coming off of a season this year where they committed, this just has them at 264. There's other stuff that you probably have to account for. The highest payroll that they've ever had. And this is kind of how it goes, the arc of it, right? You usually have your worst, best teams when your payroll is at its highest. That's what they were this year. Of all these teams that they've had, this is absolutely the worst team in this run that they've had. And they weren't bad. They just weren't great. If you are going to keep Kyle Tucker, you have to get that done now. If you're going to keep Framber Valdez, you have to get that done now. If you're going to keep Alex Bregman as well, you need to get that done hopefully before he hits the market. You have a 5-day exclusive window after the World Series to talk to your own free agents. I know Scott Boras, his agent's not going to like that. It's probably not going to want that. And I'm taking my stab at it right now. I'm saying it just based off, again, I'm saying this only based off of what Jose Altuve has been so public about Bregman and staying here. I think that the pressure is going to get to them, and I think they're going to pay Alex Bregman. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. He had one of his worst seasons as a big leaguer because of the overall numbers. I know that he got it together, but if you put together the overall raw numbers, there are clear-cut signs of decline when it comes to plate discipline more than anything else and swing decisions. But he does matter, and I get that he matters. And it's not like you hit the age of 30 and you become a bad baseball player or something. You have no ability to play into your 30s. But that is a big, massive whopper of a decision that has to be made. We'll continue that discussion. Just wait 1 second. Let's get right back to it. I want to get to all of it because it's the last chance we're going to talk Astros here on this channel until the 2025 season gets here. We'll continue it next year on the Locked On Astros Postcast. This episode of the Locked On Astros Postcast is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book on Booking.com today, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today, which is a fantastic app because, like you mentioned, you can get out there and you can go see our country. You can go see other ballparks. I wish that you could go see the Astros playing in Cleveland for the next few days, but unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do that because their season is over. But get that Booking.com app. I've used it in the past. It's a great way, great tool to see your way across this country. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Again, get the Booking.com app. Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Locked On Astros Postcast. Thanks for joining us here this afternoon. I'm your host, Michael Connor. If you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. Would appreciate it. This channel will be back with our Astros discussion as the season returns next year in 2020. It sucks, man. Think about it. We got October, November, December, January, February, and they don't start playing until the end of March. We basically, because this season ended today, have 6 months without Astros baseball. This isn't normal for us in the city of Houston. We're used to about 5.5 months, 5 months, I should say, 4.5 months of postseason. Now, of course, they're going to have spring training, so they'll be back in action in February. We're not going to do postcast shows for spring training games unless they want me to with Locked On. I doubt that they're going to want me to do spring training games for those. So we'll probably be doing, when the season starts next year in 2025, will be when we started with that. The Astros, though, like I said, have some decisions to make in terms of what they're going to do this offseason. And I said it right there before we went to our little timeout. I do think that they'll get pressured they'll feel the heat of the Bregman thing, and they're going to keep Bregman. I'm saying this knowing I'm probably wrong. I mean, they've never kept anybody, so why would they suddenly change? Other than Altuve and Yordan, who else have they kept? They've kept other guys, but they just don't do that. This is on ownership to change their way. And I said this yesterday. Where they are at franchise-wise and where their farm system is at, there is only one way to sustain their level of success or to boost it back up. And I mentioned that one team specifically, the Philadelphia Phillies. They're going to have to go out there and spend. They have no option. They have no option other than to spend money on free agents. And look, it's a flawed game plan. I completely get it. It can be something that is going to wreck you. Absolutely wreck you. And if you're about this life, though, of playing postseason baseball and you want to get back to it and being deep into October, that's where they're going to have to go to because they do not have reinforcements coming at all. Period. End of story. They don't. They have certain guys that people might have high expectations for down the road, but overall, they aren't. There's a reason why, and all the ranking systems are subjective. I get it. It's done by somebody like me who doesn't necessarily have an overall clue. Like we have a clue, but they're consistently ranked bottom 5 in the sport in farm systems for a reason. They can no longer afford really to trade. Maybe there is a trade out there for them, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm looking at the free agent list here. They got to go out and get a first baseman. Screw it. Go spend money. Go pick up Pete Alonso. I mentioned shortstop. Go trade Jeremy Pena and sign Willie Adames. I don't know. Keep Alex Bregman. Go sign a left fielder. Go sign an outfielder. Somebody. There's not a lot of great. Screw it. Go sign Juan Soto. He's staying with the Yankees. That's not happening. They got to find another out. They got to find a lot of guys. They have to. They've got to find some bats And they got to use some of that money as well on some pitching. They got to restock. Because as I mentioned, looking at what they have in the farm system is not going to fix this. And then on top of that, they got to come back out next season, and they got to have guys. Look, if Bregman's back, has to be better than this past season. Altuve can't go in the tank like he did in the second half of the season again. Tucker, need him healthy, but also need him to do something in the postseason. He's been atrocious in the postseason. Like over his last 50 at bats, he's got I think it's 4 or 5 hits. Insane. Yainer Diaz is going to have to take a step forward at the plate, but he's also going to have to take a step forward behind the plate. He is so bad behind the plate at blocking the baseball. I mean, just so bad. And the Ryan Presley thing there in the ninth. Or the eighth, excuse me. It's a wild pitch. I get it. It's not a great pitch, but that's also a ball that Yainer Diaz should block every single time. Great catchers block those balls. He has to be better. Jordan's just got to be Jordan. I'm not worried about Jordan at all. He shows up to spring training. You put him down for 305 and 35 every year, minimum. That's just what he's going to do. But if Chas McCormick's still going to be around, he's got to get back to being the Chas McCormick that was good. Same can be said for Dubon, who was really bad this season. Then pitching-wise, you're going to need repeats from Brown. You're going to need repeats from Valdez, Blanco. But these are also characters, like I said, that you could shake things up. Maybe this team needs a little bit of a shake-up. If you're not going to sign Kyle Tucker long-term, maybe you take a look at what you can get. And maybe it could be some sort of package where you get another big league star in return. I think it would be a mistake to do that. I know that he's been atrocious in the postseason. I think getting rid of Kyle Tucker is the wrong move. He's still young enough. Like we said with the Correa thing, he's still young enough that you could keep him. They need to do that. If they're not going to keep Fromber, put him on the market. You put him on the market. You need workhorses, and he's going to be a workhorse. But if you can get a return that's worthy of moving him on because you're only going to have him for one more year, this is how you sustain things. And then you go out there and, again, you supplement this team in spots that need to be supplemented. There is no perfect fix for the Astros at all. But they got to figure it out quickly. I appreciate you guys all season long being here on this channel. Today, unfortunately, was not the day that I was looking forward to doing, having the season come to an end in such a just absolutely painful way. As I mentioned earlier, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Come back. I would appreciate that if you join me for the other shows that we have. We've got all kinds of sports coming up. Friday night, I'll be back. This channel will be live again Friday night for Cougars football against the TCU Horned Frogs. We'll have some U of H basketball throughout the season as well. Texans this weekend. Team that's 3-1. Our hopes now in this city go to them, even if they've not been the most impressive. They're going to play Buffalo this weekend. Wade Smith and I, former Texan, will have that show. Then, like I mentioned earlier, Rockets start on the 7th. First preseason game coming up the 7th of October. So I'll get you for that one as well. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday, as good as you can have after the Astros had such a sour end of the season. I am so grateful for you sticking with me all season long, hanging out every single night when the Astros win. Hopefully we'll be talking about a team next season that is winning games at a high level once again. It's been a pleasure. I hope that you guys, again, have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again Friday night live on this channel. For now, that's it for the 2024 season and the Locked On Astros Postcast.